Alrighty, hello and welcome everybody. Today we are going to be diving in on the topic supporting remote and hybrid workers. Believe it or not, it now marks 5 years after the start of the pandemic, and one high profile return to office mandate after another has gone down in flames. Remote and hybrid work are a permanent component of the modern workplace. Today, we'll focus on the unique challenges organizations face in ensuring productivity, security, and seamless collaboration for distributed teams. Presenters will shed light on key areas: secure remote access, device management, collaboration platforms, and maintaining employee engagement. And we're going to see actionable insights into implementing scalable solutions that meet the evolving needs of both employees and organizations. Luckily, we have expert presenters from Palo Alto and Zscaler to help guide us on this important conversation today. I'm sure you're all ready and pumped up to get started. So, we're going to go through a few last little bits of info, and then we're going to get our speakers on out here with us. My name is Mackenzie Puddisy. I am a moderator here at Actual Tech Media, and I want to say welcome to today's webinar. If you have not been on a webinar with me before, I have got my friends and fellow moderators here, Jess Steinbach, Scott Becker, and Keith Ward on live chat, and Keith is going to be doing our keynote in just a second as well. Now, if you haven't yet ventured over to the questions tab in your console and said hello, I invite you to find that now and give a quick hello, good morning, good afternoon, and just pump up a little bit of energy here around the audience of the webinar. Feel free to say hi, hello, bonjour, hola, or whatever greeting you'd like to leave there with the community today. Now, I've also got some more exciting news. We have some prizes to give away. That's right. There are three $300 Amazon gift cards up for grabs, and you will need to be live and present here on today's EcoCast to win. In the housekeeping video, you might have heard about this, but you can find the full T's and C's linked in the handouts tab, nested in that same window as the questions. And you'll also find some incredible resources from our presenters today, Palo Alto and Zscaler, linked in there, and I'm going to call those out a little bit later when they come up in the presentation. But don't hesitate to get curious, grab those now. Now, speaking of curious, we also have two $50 Amazon gift cards up for grabs for the best question asked in each session. So feel free to send in your questions, and I'm going to be voicing some of those to our experts and just being able to pick their brains and get a little bit information about what you are particularly looking to learn today as well. The final thing I want to announce is that in February, as in next week, the Actual Tech webinars will have a new and improved user interface. So if you're joining us next week onwards for another webinar, look forward to some new bells and whistles in the console. You will also receive newly templated emails when you sign up for a webinar or get day of reminders that the event is starting. We wanted to let you know in case the change made anyone suspicious. I know we're all security experts here and we are not going to get phished. So you will see some new templates for that. And you're also hopefully going to have some exciting times ahead with all those fun new features. And hey, with that, I think we're ready to rock. So, Keith, if you are ready, I've got my fellow moderator, Keith Ward, who's also a seasoned tech journalist here, and he's going to be opening up this chat about supporting remote and hybrid workers. So, Keith, welcome to the stage. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Keith Ward, an actual tech moderator, and I am super excited to join you for the EcoCast today. Now, our topic is as hot as they come, so let's dive right in. What do you say? Now, the way we work has evolved dramatically, and here at the beginning of 2025, supporting remote and hybrid workers has become a critical priority for IT teams. Although there's been more of a push by companies to bring employees back in the office recently, it's clear to me that there's a new normal for most organizations, and it does involve some measure of remote work. Now, that genie, in my opinion, can't be put fully back in the bottle. I mean, work from home is here to stay, even if at a reduced level, and companies have to adjust accordingly. So, today I'm going to highlight four key strategies IT can use to help remote and hybrid workers be more productive, secure, and connected. To that end, one of your first jobs is to ramp up your digital infrastructure. To do remote and hybrid work efficiently may require big changes in your environment. Not necessarily, but it's quite possible. Now, that can include things like cloud first solutions and high performance networks. So, let's talk for a minute about these cloud first solutions. Transitioning to a cloud first approach ensures employees can securely access their tools and data from anywhere. Now, this can include cloud based file storage, collaboration tools, and scalable applications, as well as other things, but those are some of the big ones. By centralizing resources in your cloud, IT can reduce reliance on premises infrastructure while also enabling this kind of seamless collaboration that we all want. An important part of that is a solid network, which is why implementing robust VPNs and SD-WAN solutions can ensure fast, reliable, and secure access to corporate resources for remote users, because hybrid users often face connectivity challenges. This can be anything from text troubleshooting an oil pipeline to point of sale folks handling orders, say, on Black Friday. In cases like these, prioritizing network performance ensures a consistent user experience. I mean, it's obvious that connectivity isn't enough anymore. It needs to do more than just work. It has to work well. It has to not bog down when there's a lot of traffic on the network. All right, up next, one of the things that is going to be absolutely essential is to prioritize cybersecurity and compliance. Now, this should be a no brainer nowadays because your network is so much more open than it used to be, and remote access increases the threat to your systems. I mean, many times over. You simply don't know who's logging on anymore and if they're good or bad. I mean, you're not Santa Claus after all. And with hybrid work, traditional perimeter defenses are just insufficient, which is where zero trust architecture comes in. This protects those resources while granting access based on need and verification. So, zero trust means that by default, you assume they're the bad guys until they prove they're not. It's kind of a um, guilty until proven innocent method, but it certainly works in this environment. Now, this zero trust model enhances security by continuously verifying users and devices, regardless of location. A logical partner with zero trust, of course, is also endpoint security management, which means equipping IT with tools to monitor, manage, and secure devices used in remote settings. This is essential because you just don't know what devices are coming onto your network. You don't know who's using them. You don't know where they have been before they got to you. So, enforcing strong policies like mandatory encryption and automated patch updates reduces these vulnerabilities. Now, the next thing you want to do is foster collaboration and employee engagement. This can't be overlooked, but I find that it often is sort of like a back burner item. Now, with remote and hybrid work, it's easy for employees to start to feel isolated. I have been fully remote now myself for decades, so I can totally relate to this. This can make workers less productive and more prone to wasting time on non work activities. I mean, the internet is right there at your fingertips, right? Now, this is where unified communication platforms and support for diverse work preferences come in. Platforms like Microsoft Teams or Slack integrate chat, video, and file sharing into a single environment, streamlining communication. Of course, there are other communications platforms out there, but those are the two most popular as of right now. No matter what the platform is, though, it is IT's job to ensure that tools are intuitive and integrated to eliminate silos so that they can improve this collaboration. This is so important with geographically disparate teams that keep all kinds of different work hours. I mean, think about it. You may have engineers in Israel, marketing teams in Australia, and help desk workers in India. So, given that given that the primitive collaboration tools, things like doing everything via email, you're not still doing that, are you? Now, they just won't cut it in these environments. The proper collaboration tools will also ensure a more cohesive company and more satisfied staffers because they'll get to know each other better. Do not, whatever you do not underestimate the value of happy workers. And finally, the fourth pillar here is that you should be providing continuing proactive IT support and training. Both of these are more difficult with remote and hybrid workers as they're no longer, captive audiences in a cube farm. That can and probably should include 24/7 help desk and self service portals. Remote and hybrid workers often operate outside traditional hours. As we just discussed more previously, it's a global workforce. Now, you need to take that into account. So, a mix of live support and AI driven self service options can ensure much more timely or immediate assistance no matter where your workers are located. This will reduce downtime and it'll also help employees resolve issues independently when possible. What is the end result of that? Well, that's going to offload work from your staff who traditionally was doing all of that. And that's going to free these people up to do more business focused priorities, i.e., bottom line kinds of projects that are going to hopefully make some money for your company rather than being a cost center. And along with that, you should be implementing learning programs. And as I mentioned before, they need to be continuous because environments change, cyber threats change, even the entire way of operating changes. For instance, many of you are using the public cloud now that you didn't 10 years ago. That brings with it a whole new host of issues in terms of workflows as well as security threats. So, regular training on cybersecurity, new tools and best practices will keep your employees informed and confident when using IT resources. This means that IT's role extends beyond just support. They need to be educating users to optimize their productivity. So, in short, work has changed, folks. The way we work has changed, and where we work from has changed. That's a lot of change. And those changes are mostly for the better. I mean, we're talking about better work life balance to start with, being away from the pressure of an office. Happier employees ultimately is what it amounts to in many cases. But those changes do also require new ways of thinking about how to integrate remote employees and contractors. IT has so much less control over the environment than previously, which means it is time to throw out that old playbook and get some new plays in. So, with that, everyone, I hope this overview has helped in that regard. Now, you're about to learn a lot more about these issues during the rest of the EcoCast. So, thank you so much for being here with me. I hope you enjoyed this, and I know you're going to enjoy the rest of the show.
All right. Thank you so much, Keith. A great way to set us up for the coming presentations. And I really like the introduction of those four key strategies that you brought up. So thank you for that. Thank you for joining us. And as for all of you in the audience, hopefully you enjoyed that as well. Now, before we get our first speaker out here with us, I've got a question for you, and that is up in a poll format, which you can answer now. So we're basically just getting a little bit of a level set here around your time frame for adding new or updating your existing IT solutions at your company. So is that kind of an immediate next 6 months project for you? Is that in the 6 to 12 month range? Is that about 2 years out, 12 to 24 months? Or perhaps you're not sure, you're just getting a lay of the land, looking at some new technologies and emerging ways to deal with this challenge. So I'm going to keep that up for just a second more. And then we're going to have the exciting team from Palo Alto come join us. Now, today on the EcoCast, we've got two fantastic teams presenting. It will fly by and be jam packed with valuable information as always. And so let's just dive into it. Please welcome from Palo Alto Networks, Monique Lance. She's the Senior Product Marketing Manager of Enterprise Browser. And Monique, I'm really excited to see what you have to present on this topic. I'm actually quite keen to learn about this browser because I've been researching it as well. So please take it away, take the stage.
Hi, my name is Monique Lance, and I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager for the Secure Browser at Palo Alto Networks. I'm really happy to be here today to introduce you to Prism Access Browser. Every day we're hearing from technology experts just like you about how their organization's work environment is evolving and how they would like to enable device freedom for all users, accessing your sensitive company information from any location and from any device. And at the same time, you want to maintain best-in-class security to prevent attacks, data leaks, and risks from compromised endpoints. So this is where Prism Access Browser comes in. Imagine you're Sam. You are a third-party Salesforce consultant for an insurance company called Acme. You have access to sensitive customer data, and you work from your personal computer through a cloud browser provided by Acme. What you don't know is that your device is being compromised. Of course, Acme also doesn't know this. This malware starts taking screenshots of your browsing session and uses the keylogger to capture your credentials, granting unauthorized access to sensitive corporate applications. Now you can imagine this isn't just Sam's problem, it's your organization's reality. And what if this was your organization? You can imagine how serious this would be. So as a technology leader, you're probably not shocked to learn that the browser is today's primary workspace. It is the hub of your sensitive corporate data. It might interest you to know that we conducted a blind survey across 500 technology leaders like yourself. We asked them how much of your workday is spent in the browser, and they told us most days 85%. Browsers are vulnerable. In fact, 95% of organizations suffered from a security incident originating from the browser. And in the last 12 months, 328 vulnerabilities were found in the browser, of which a huge proportion were high impact. Obviously, work in the browser is here to stay. An internal analysis of Palo Alto Networks revealed that large organizations are using around 10,000 SaaS and web applications. Now, this is a huge number, and it's going to get bigger. But organizations lack visibility and control in these applications. Certain types of encrypted traffic doesn't lend itself to decryption due to application functionality, user experience, and compliance considerations. The result is that a large percentage of web traffic, approximately 64%, remains encrypted, leaving organizations exposed to risk. Another interesting takeaway from our study is that approximately 90% of organizations are enabling employees some level of access to corporate applications from their personal devices. So when I mentioned that, people like you say, wow, they didn't realize the number was so high. And as you're aware, this leads to multiple security challenges. In fact, a staggering 90% of successful ransomware compromises originate from unmanaged devices. And in addition to tackling these challenges, organizations like yours must also ensure that the security solutions they deploy do not cause employee friction. We know for a fact that most employees will bypass security to accomplish a business goal. So it's not just about the risks. It's also about how do we respond? How do we enable employees to work freely, access the tools that they need, and embrace innovations like AI while ensuring our data and our applications remain secure? Enter Prism Access Browser. A secure browser purpose-built for today's challenges. It's not just another browser, it's a game changer. It secures the workspace by enabling any user to bravely browse from any device, including BYOD mobile phones and tablets, and from any location. From any application that includes SaaS, even those SaaS applications that require SSL pinning, private applications, and SSH and RDP. What is Prism Access Browser? Well, firstly, it's based on Chromium, and that means it looks and feels like Chrome. This gives you a seamless native browser experience with zero latency and no learning curve. It can be installed in minutes, like any browser, with no admin privileges. This makes it extremely easy to deploy on unmanaged devices. And it provides unified visibility across managed and unmanaged devices in one console, enabling administrators to apply a single policy across all devices. Prism Access Browser is also available on Windows and Apple. It also works with extensions to support other browsers. And as mentioned, you can use it on Apple and Android smartphones and on tablets. You might be interested to know what Gartner has to say about the enterprise browser category. So by 2030, enterprise browsers will be the core platform for delivering workforce productivity and security software on managed and unmanaged devices for a seamless hybrid work experience. In other words, it's only a matter of time before all organizations will be adopting the enterprise browser. So now for the first time, you can unleash the power of the browser to secure work on any device, both managed and unmanaged devices. It's purpose-built for hostile environments, isolating the browser from the endpoint. It provides a secure workspace, so you no longer have to worry about untrusted devices and scenarios like SAMs that I described in the opening of this presentation. In addition, the browser collects insights for threat hunting and for forensics. Secondly, you'll be able to extend zero trust across all actions in all apps. So you will see user activity across web, SaaS, and Gen AI apps. You will be able to apply last mile data identity and privileged access controls on all apps. And you can leverage Palo Alto Network's leading data classifiers. And all of that while providing a delightful user experience. Unlike cloud browsing solutions based on RBI technology, Prism Access Browser provides a completely seamless browsing experience on any app without latency. The browser delivers comprehensive, frictionless security that your users won't try to bypass. They will benefit from maximum uptime and productivity tools that deliver 5 times faster application performance than direct to internet, and enable safe access to AI. You can onboard and offboard in minutes with an average of 80% less TCO than shipping laptops, VDI, or RBI tools that rely on a cloud environment. Now, a secure browser is as good as the security engines that it leverages. And this is a unique differentiator for Prism Access Browser versus other enterprise browsers in the market. And it is the most important consideration for any organization considering an enterprise browser from a security and a compliance perspective. Prism Access Browser leverages the precision of Palo Alto Network's precision AI. Every day we analyze 4.6 billion events gathered from over 70,000 customers. With the power of precision AI, we detect 2.3 million new and unique attacks, detect and prevent 237,000 new and unique malicious files, and 347,000 new and unique malicious URLs every day. And all of this from the browser. So how are customers using Prism Access Browser? For securing knowledge workers, such as third-party and contractors, BYOD, and use cases that were hard to achieve in the past with other tools. So let's just take a close look at some of those use cases. Prism Access Browser is giving organizations the ability to onboard hundreds of users in a short period of time following a merger or acquisition. It is enabling them to provide secure access to call centers and frontline workers in minutes while lowering costs of alternative solutions. And of course, safely enabling BYOD increases workforce agility, productivity, and it enables device freedom, which is a win-win for organizations and employees. And then we have many different examples of how organizations are unleashing the power of the browser on managed devices to support encrypted traffic. As I mentioned, a large portion of web traffic remains encrypted. This enables them to secure that web traffic. The secure browser also enables safe usage of Gen AI, and it provides last mile data protections and other use cases as listed here. So now let's deep dive into Prism Access Browser's three key capabilities: secure environment to enable work on any device, last mile data and identity controls to protect your sensitive data, and a user-friendly workspace to create an environment users and IT enjoy to use. So let's take a closer look at secure environment. Prism Access Browser secures you in 4 different ways: from malware on the endpoint, from web threats, including malicious extensions, and it provides you with the insights you need for threat hunting and forensics to prevent accidental and intentional data leakage. So how does it protect against compromised endpoints? As I mentioned previously, the secure browser was built for hostile environments. You no longer have to worry about sensitive applications being opened on untrusted devices. Unlike VDI and cloud browsers, it protects your data from screen scrapers and keyloggers. It isolates the workspace and hardens the browser with an additional layer of encryption to protect against stolen credentials. And unlike VDI and cloud browsing solutions, it checks the device posture every 90 seconds, so you can ensure that unmanaged devices also comply with your security policies. And it protects you against web-based attacks by disabling vulnerable web components to reduce the attack surface of the browser. In the case of risky websites, it can open in read-only mode, and for high-risk websites, it can work together with Prisma Access RBI. So, for example, it can open an uncategorized website in our RBI solution, if necessary. This secure environment is fortified by Palo Alto Network security engines. I mentioned the sheer power of these engines earlier. Advanced Wildfire is the industry's largest cloud-based malware prevention engine. It analyzes over 12 billion unique files a year. Advanced URL filtering is the industry's biggest AI-powered threat intelligence database with the most advanced phishing protection engines. It blocks over 41 billion malicious URLs a year. And advanced threat protection provides real-time defense against the most advanced evasive threats. Now let's take a closer look at our last mile data and identity controls. For last mile data and identity protection, Prism Access Browser brought in zero trust access to protect all users and device attributes. All web applications, all actions and last mile actions, such as screenshots, opening the camera, etc., leveraging Palo Alto Network's leading data classification engines. You can also introduce step-up multi-factor authentication when a user accesses a sensitive application or before an action such as printing a sensitive file. And just-in-time controls enable users to request permission to perform an action, such as accessing a website for a specific business objective. One of the browser's greatest features is its ability to set highly granular controls based on context and content. So here you can see the multiple attributes that can be configured for each rule according to the user device type and posture, network location, and according to different web applications. This means that you can set specific rules such as which users can access what information according to their device, location, or any other attribute shown here. For instance, you may restrict sensitive data access on certain networks, like a public network versus the employee's home. And as I mentioned, we cover all user actions across all apps, including last mile. From ensuring only authorized users log into corporate apps from the browser, protecting against malware in files being uploaded and downloaded through copy-paste protection, typing sensitive data into unsanctioned apps, text masking, and more. So here on the right, you can see that we have masked sensitive credit card data for this specific user. Also, you can block printing and screen sharing and screenshotting of sensitive data. Here on the right, you can see that we blocked the screen in a conference call. As an admin, you will have complete control of the camera and the microphone. Also, you can include watermarks on select screens to prevent people from taking photographs of the screens and later sharing them. The watermark includes personally identifiable information. These features significantly reduce the risk of intentional and accidental data loss. Customers also enjoy additional data protection powered by Palo Alto Network's leading data classification engines. Prisma Access Browser offers over 1,000 data classifiers. That's huge. OCR, exact data match, and 22 predefined compliance profiles, including HIPAA, PII, GDPR, PCI, and more. You can also introduce step-up MFA, as I mentioned, during a session and enable just-in-time permissions. This balances productivity with robust security measures. Another important topic is how we protect files. The browser offers robust file protection by ensuring downloaded files are only viewable on sanctioned devices and applications. For instance, a file with confidential data downloaded from Salesforce is automatically encrypted on the operating system, adding an extra layer of security. And only when uploaded to a sanctioned corporate application in the browser will it be decrypted and viewable. So you are not concerned about files at rest anymore. And now when it comes to our user-first workspace, we made sure to build a solution that both users and IT will love, one that will be easy to implement and manage and will boost productivity. So you and your users can enjoy access to all apps with 5 times faster app performance than direct to the internet, and the ease of integrated apps in your workspace. And you can try out new live browsing feature, which enables admins and workers to share their browser, enables workers to share their screen and their browsing session with admins to troubleshoot. And very soon around the corner, we'll be able to enable colleagues to share their browsing sessions with other colleagues. And what couldn't be more user-friendly than security that you can deploy across your organization in minutes and has no one single point of failure. So let's see how our customers are benefiting from Prisma Access Browser. Lemonade is an exciting insurance tech company that is completely changing the way insurance is done. The company has approximately 2 million customers across the US. The CISO was looking for a solution that she could deploy fast. She found that the enterprise browser, our enterprise browser, was able to cut deployment times down from a few days to minutes. So deploying Prisma Access Browser instead of shipping laptops has not only increased agility, but also enabled her to save 85% of the costs when onboarding partners. She was also aware of how important AI tools are to the productivity of the company. So the CISO was very excited to adopt the browser to enable employees to access AI without compromising secrets and other sensitive data. 10,000 customers across the globe. Snowflake is all about building the greatest data and applications platform. For Snowflake, keeping customers' data safe is mission critical. The Director of Corporate Security sought a solution that would enable his professional services team privileged access to customer data. He wanted to be confident that the data would not be tampered with. He understood that the browser's comprehensive data access and identity controls would ensure that the customer was safe from insider threats. I will also add that he was delighted by the fact that Prisma Access Browser also enabled him to reduce costs. He was so thrilled with the results so that he said that the enterprise browser would change the cybersecurity landscape in a huge way. In the aftermath of school closures during COVID, Amplify Education, an educational software and services provider that serves 15 million students across the US, needed to deliver high-quality tutoring to students. That would require a workforce of thousands of tutors working on their own devices, many of whom had limited technical skills. Note that this is also an organization whose C-suite is actively involved in security decisions. Amplify knew it couldn't launch the program unless it could keep students, teachers, and the company secure. So with Prisma Access Browser's secure environment, Amplify could protect its organization and the students, even if a tutor's device was compromised from other activity. With this protection in place, the company could rapidly scale its tutoring workforce, employing over 2,000 tutors to deliver the education students need for academic success. They reduced onboarding time from 6 weeks to just minutes, streamlined offboarding with a 1,000-hour reduction in ticket resolution time, and achieved 85% cost savings. Building on the ease of securing its tutoring workforce, Amplify is now looking to expand its use of Prisma Access Browser to contractors and others in the organization. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your time and attention today. I strongly encourage you to use the QR code on this slide to request a demo so you can see how Prisma Access Browser can help your organization empower all users to bravely browse from any device, anywhere, and in any application. Thank you.
Thank you. That was excellent. Really enjoyed that awesome presentation. I do have a poll question up for all of you. We would love to get your feedback on any additional resources that you would like to explore from Palo Alto Networks. And your feedback, of course, is very valuable. But think of this as your easy button, your wish list. If there's anything you specifically want to know, if you're looking for data sheets, white papers, case studies, pricing, just plunk it in the poll there, and we'll make sure that information gets to you after today's presentation. Now, unfortunately, we did push up against time here, and we're not going to be able to hold a Q&A session. So any of those questions that you did send in, you still may be selected for the Best Question gift card prize, but those will have to be followed up upon by Palo Alto Networks after today's EcoCast. So hang tight on those, and I'm sure the team will be happy to send you any information that you are looking for there. Now, in additional follow-ups, you can also check out that handouts tab if you have not yet done that. There's a PDF linked in there, and that is a PDF of Palo Alto Network's solution brief for Prisma Access Browser. So again, really cool tool there. You heard all about it, but this is just going to give you that deeper dive so you can review it afterwards as well. And it is also prize time. Yes, we have our first of 3 $300 Amazon gift cards to give away. Quick reminder, you do need to be present here and live on the webinar to win. And without further ado, our first lucky winner is Gina Lim Vu from California. Gina, huge congratulations. And of course, we'll be reaching out after the EcoCast to let you know how you can claim that prize. I'm going to close out this poll here in just a few seconds. So if you are interested in any of those follow-up resources from Palo Alto Networks, please click now or forever hold your peace. All right. And with that, let's keep the good times rolling. Next up on the docket, we have Zscaler back in the house, and we have Navjoti Sharma. He's the Director of Product Management. I'm definitely will have a little time here for Q&A, so keep those questions coming in hot throughout Navjoti's presentation, and then we'll wrap things up with some brain pickings. So Navjoti, take it away.
Hello, everybody. My name is Navjoti Sharma, and it's a pleasure to be talking to you today about how Zscaler can secure your remote and hybrid workers. A little bit about myself. I'm a Director of Product Management with the Zscaler Private Access team. Super excited to cover the agenda today. What we're going to talk about today is the evolving threat landscape that your remote and hybrid workforce sort of face in terms of cybersecurity challenges. Right? And in terms of traditional approaches, we have the classic VPN, which is network centric. and why zero trust as a cybersecurity strategy is more future-proof, is more secure than the classic sort of VPN-based approach. We will also discuss how Zscaler can help you with improving the security posture with our advanced segmentation capabilities, something that we take you along on the zero trust journey. How do we help you there? And then eventually we'll bring it all together by covering the landscape of applications that you can secure with Zscaler private access, and where all you can secure them, really, right? It's really the principle is to be able to secure, any user, any application, anywhere, right? That really is the guiding North Star of how we develop cybersecurity solutions for your remote and hybrid workflows. Without further ado, here is a context slide, right? In terms of the challenges, cybersecurity challenges that IT has faced post-COVID, your apps and users have left the building. Applications are no longer in your data center. They're in the cloud. They're probably sitting in a colo somewhere, perhaps some mini workloads in your branch and remote offices. In fact, new types of workloads with the advent of IT/OT devices. And you are constrained. You as an IT organization are constrained with your budget mandates. You're being every day asked to do more with less, right? And the threat actors are not lazy. As and when they discover more exposure points, they are getting more and more creative with their attacks, right? So your resilience really has been tested in the last few years with a confluence of these challenges. Your application workload venue and execution forms have changed. They are everywhere. Your users are distributed. They come in and access corporate workloads either on managed devices or on unmanaged devices, through clientless devices, through a browser. And you're having to support all of these different combinations, the heterogeneity in this environment, in the face of more evolving, more advanced cyber threats, right? That is sort of your reality. Now, the challenge is your traditional security solutions, which are network-centric, things like firewalls and VPNs, are found wanting in this landscape. Anything network-centric, things like firewalls and VPNs, essentially have a public networking identity. If you're reachable, you're breachable. That's what our CEO Jay Chaudhry, likes to say, and he is spot on. If you have a public presence on the internet, you can be attacked, right? And if that particular device can be discovered and attacked, and another analogy that he likes to use is the analogy of a bank robber, somebody who gets in through a weak point, through a publicly accessible point, and then creates a compromise of a particular device, right? Because it is not a proxy architecture, essentially a transport architecture that has security bolted on top of it in terms of an encrypted payload or some sort of an authentication, header. But at the end of the day, networking and security are sort of tied together. And if you compromise one, you are able to gain access to the network through other means, right? Through lateral movement. Here is an IP address that I have gained access to. I'm going to crawl all the other IP addresses on that subnet, right? It becomes easy if these IP addresses are exposed, right? That is a fundamental problem. And once you have, an end-to-end tunnel, if you will, that you have gained access to as an attacker, it's very, very easy to sort of start to exfiltrate data. So as an organization, you have to consider all these challenges, and traditional security solutions basically are found wanting when it comes to keeping up with these threats, right? And these threats are real. These threats are real because your employees are likely working out of a Starbucks location. The earlier assumptions of they are working inside a trusted location like an office where everything is secure, locked down, etc., is no longer true. They could be working from home. They could be accessing workloads on devices that are unmanaged, right? How do you make sure that your crown jewels continue to stay protected while not making any productivity trade-offs, while allowing your users the flexibility to sort of connect from anywhere, right? And that's where analysts agree with us with our approach. And Gartner has posited that post-COVID as well, the fact that your workforce is essentially hybrid, it's no longer co-located inside a building or in your head offices. Users are going to be remote. Your applications are no longer in the building. There is going to be a heightened increase in sort of the ZTNA market. That's what they are hypothesizing. Now, at the end of the day, when we talk about secure access, it is fundamentally tunneling technology, right? The problem with network-centric tunnels, if you will, is again, as I said earlier, is that each of these devices have a public IP address that could be, compromised, and the devices that are sitting behind, which are really your production workloads, whether they're databases or IoT OT devices or some sort of finance middleware application, they need to be accessed by users that are inside the building and users that are outside the building, right? And while you have VPNs that create this tunnel, there are attackers who want to ride over that same infrastructure, right? Once your inbound VPN gateway sort of compromise, they have access not just to SAP, but to everything inside, right? There is no way to enforce application-based access, for example, for internal users, short of sort of putting policy engines in front of every device or making sort of a hub and spoke model, right? All of those are really restrictive, and you're making either cybersecurity trade-offs or you're making productivity trade-offs, right? There are cases where departmentally you might use different VPNs, which means these users have this terrible experience of having to hop VPN clients, right, or tunnels in order to access what is essentially a corporate workload, right? Contrast that with a zero trust connectivity model, where the peering relationship and the policy is really described between the two entities that are communicating, right? There is a user, their location is either an office or in an office somewhere, and they want to talk to a particular application instance, right? The network, describing this peering relationship at the networking layer or security of the networking layer by means of a tunnel does a disservice, right? Really, this peering relationship should be described at the application layer, which is if your zero trust HR user is on a managed device and is accessing the SAP workload between the hours of 9 to 5, he or she is allowed access, right? And the zero trust HR user is never aware of the IP address, if you will, of the SAP workload. They just access it through the zero trust exchange, right? There's access through an FQDN, and the IP address that gets returned to the zero trust HR user on their device is really a cloaked IP address. So the identity, the networking identity of SAP here, for example, the SAP instance is running in your data center, is never exposed to the public internet. So if you have an attacker that's trying to access this, they'll be blocked because we establish an identity posture before we allow you any access. After evaluating their identity, after making you authenticate, right? After successful authentication, we then evaluate policy. Only when the policy allows an authenticated user to talk to a corporate workload is the connection brokered, right? The connection is not brokered until you have actually established identity. So it's not runtime enforcement, right? Even before you establish a connection, right, to the application, right, your application level segment, right, you need to establish identity and posture, and then eventually be allowed by policy to be able to talk to that particular instance. So there is no threat of lateral movement. The only entity that's exposed is SAP. As a user, if I have access to SAP, policy will only allow me to talk to SAP. There is no network crawling I can do because I'm not aware of the IP address of the SAP instance, right? So all of those zero trust principles that ride on top of the underlay basically create a highly secure architecture for both your remote and your hybrid workforce. Right? Now, when we talk to our customers about their zero trust journey, you have to start with where they are today. Yeah, I'm using the the traditional methods of security, and I understand that yes, network-based access, although I have and I can create networking segments, perhaps control things with route advertisements, etc. I can control some of that, maybe create a DMZ with some firewalls. I can do what I can with firewalls and VPNs. But once a user gains access to a subnet, they're free to move laterally, and they're not comfortable with that, right? So, somebody who is an HR user potentially could access, for example, the CXO apps, which really should be available only to the C-suite. And that's what I meant in the previous slide. When you try and create peering relationships at the network layer, right, these sort of segments or the segmentation boundaries can be really hard to enforce. Whereas if you create application level peering through a switchboard, through an exchange that takes care of establishing the identity, B, controlling the posture, and third, allowing access only if you're allowed by policy. So in this case, your user group is C-suite, and if your user group is C-suite, you are on a managed device. The device posture is good. You are at a secure location, for example, or between a time of day. I will allow you access to CXO apps only then. So what did this do? This reduced, for example, just enabling this, moving from a network-based model to a zero trust model, enabled you to tighten your security posture from a really wide security posture to a really tight security posture, right? So what happened here? The CXO apps, the attack surface got reduced from potentially 30,000 users, if you will, to 10 users, because we have the zero trust exchange that is running in the middle that is enforcing this policy, right? Huge benefits in terms of reducing the attack surface and eventual compromise and by means of exploiting lateral movement. Now, how do we help you on this journey? If you're in a classic sort of VPN / firewall module, right? Hey, I'm not very familiar with the proxy-based architecture, but it sounds exciting. How do I move along in this journey? We have very good case studies where the primary directive is, listen, I don't want to disrupt anything by moving to this model. What I want to do is first do an allow all, right, and keep my traditional security constructs in place. Well, here's a wildcard segment. Let's start with a wildcard segment where your users are able to talk to these applications. What we do is based on those access patterns, right? We have an AI/ML engine that is constantly munging these huge amounts of data, this transaction data that is going through the zero trust exchange, and we are able to map the top relationships, for example, between user to apps. Right? Here are these top 10 application segments, chattiest application segments, if you will. And this is a breakdown of the user groups that are most frequently talking to these applications, right? Visually, you can inspect right here if there are candidates that are prime for optimization, right? Do I need to create a more fine-tuned application segment? Do I need to control my security posture in terms of, does Jira need to be, for example, right here, Jira, does it need to be accessed by management engineering, FE, front-end developers, back-end developers, right? Do I have an opportunity to modify my security posture there, right? So, you're able to, starting with this visibility that we're able to give you based on, our AI/ML model that's constantly running in the background, right? We are able to tell you, what your high impact segmentation targets are, right? So there's the discovery piece, right? Which applications am I running? We have tools that will help you with discovery of the applications that are running in your, in your data center, if you're coming from a traditional network-centric model. And then we'll help you visualize these user group to these applications relationships, which then allow you to create a fine-tuned, granular segmentation and security posture, right? And you can sort of continue on this exercise to get to a tighter and more fine-grained sort of application segmentation definition, and then the granular policy definition, which says which users, based on their attributes, location, SCIM, SAML attributes, to be able to talk to these applications, right? So very powerful toolkit that helps you move along this journey from a wildcard really to a fine-grained security posture, right? And there's a point I made at the beginning of the slide deck, really. One of the challenges that we've seen to the zero trust architectures. Like, uh, you know what? This is great. It does help improve my cybersecurity posture by orders of magnitude. But there are these applications. There are these applications that don't lend themselves well to to a networking, to a proxy-centric architecture. What do I do about those, right? And that's where we're sort of glad to announce ZPA, Zscaler Private Access, is the most comprehensive and unified solution for your application access, securing your private application access that's out there. Number one, right? Your private application sitting either in your data center, in your public cloud, in a colo, front-ended by, or cloaked by either an application connector. Remote users can talk to these applications regardless of where they are sitting. There's a second class of applications which really are not client to server, but are rather server to client. Examples we have seen are, here is a whole class of private applications that I can secure with Zscaler Private Access. But there is this maintenance type application or this software update type application or a VoIP type application that needs networking awareness. I need to know really the IP addresses of the endpoints that are communicating, right? And for that, we have a new connectivity paradigm for supporting these legacy network applications. Again, the point that I wanted to make earlier, that I made earlier, was all tunnels are not created equal. Even though they are, the connectivity type, if you will, is not the Z tunnel, rather like a VPN tunnel. They're again inside out. We still adhere to zero trust principles before giving you access, before giving a client access or a user access to these applications. The connectivity method is the only thing that's changing here in order to support these legacy applications. There are customers who have use cases where there are no clients. These are unmanaged devices. But can I access these applications? I would love to access these applications through a browser. Can I do that? Yes, you can, right? There are third-party users, there are privileged users who need to access certain applications, but I cannot enforce running, for example, a client connector on all those machines, right? Can they access my applications and still adhere to zero trust posture? Yes, you can. There are these privileged targets that are these IT/OT systems that really don't have the ability to run an app connector or a cloaking in front of them. How do I access RDP SSH, for example, on those targets? Do I have the ability to do that? Yes, with PRA you can. And then finally, this is what we announced with our business partner Actionable offering. There is this whole class of connectivity challenges that you as a customer have to sort of host today with maintaining connectivity with B2B partners. You're either hosting clients on end device machines, on user machines, to access these partner locations, or you're hosting routers that are either provided by the partner or you're hosting routers for them just to maintain sort of connectivity with your B2B partners, right? With the extranet service that is available as part of ZPA, all of that connectivity challenges and the operational overhead that you as a customer, as a corporation have to hold, that burden is now held by Zscaler. So really, when we say securely, the Zscaler private application, private access is really the foundational, bedrock on which you can securely connect literally any user, regardless of where they are, any type of user, from whether it's employee, whether it's third party, whether they're remote, whether they're in office, regardless of the device that they're on, whether it's a managed or a BYOD device, pretty much to any type of app, right? That's located either in the cloud, on premises inside your data center, the type of the app, right? Whether it lends well to sort of an application centric architecture, proxy architecture, or it's a legacy network app, right? Or finally, the extranet use case with B2B, where you can extend the zero trust paradigm into your partners' domains, right? Our vision really is to be able to be the one-stop shop for all your private application access, right? For all your users, regardless of where they are connecting from, right? And when you talk about the outcomes, just bringing it back to the challenges that we had earlier, One of the fundamental problems with the traditional approaches is really an increased attack surface. We have cloaked your applications, we have cloaked the user. They are not aware of the networking identities of each other, right? So we've minimized the attack surface, with this huge um, service exchange that's sitting in the middle, the zero trust exchange that's sitting in the middle, that is cloaking all of these and brokering all of these connections just based on policy. If you have a minimized attack surface and you don't have access to the network, you've eliminated essentially networking from the picture. You've eliminated lateral movement. If there isn't an IP address that's available to me to do a subnet crawl, I'm not going to be able to do that. When I have I take on the power of the AI-powered user-to-app segmentation. I have peering relationships that are defined just with that particular app. If I'm allowed access to SAP and I'm not allowed access to finance, I will not be able to access finance. And obviously, once all of this is available as a service to you, the operational overhead of maintaining networking, maintaining security, maintaining all of the tunnels, right? All of that is taken away from you, right? We bear the burden of actually, Zscaler bears the burden of managing that. For you, it's as simple as initiating a connection towards the zero trust exchange, right? From a client, right? It's very, very simple, being available as a service. So really bringing it back, tying it all together, what these benefits are most apparent in some of our key use cases that customers have used us for. Right, one very obvious one is sort of VPN replacement for remote users, and that's where challenges like tunnel hopping, challenges like lateral movement, just not having a fine-grained sort of security posture, those challenges are removed. What about zero trust access for in-office employees with the Zscaler Private Service Edge? You essentially have the data plane, running inside your office location, which means you have the ability to enforce policy without hairpinning through the cloud if you so wanted, while maintaining the performance of a local network. Right? For third parties that need, that don't have the ability to, let's say, connect using an agent, we have clientless access using browser access, for example, right? And finally, for IT/OT type access, there's privileged remote access, VDI replacement with browser access, and very clever techniques, around browser isolation that allow you to, replace these heavyweight sort of applications while still ensuring access, right? The benefits are huge, right? I get asked about a return on investment, around the business value sort of proposition around investing in this cybersecurity architecture. Traditional numbers are 289%. Obviously, a huge reduction in breaches, which means very fine-grained, tight security posture. Obviously, you've eliminated a bunch of tools out there, right? You've eliminated firewalls, VPNs. So just in and of itself, in terms of infrastructure costs, you save a lot of investments, right? Direct pipes that served as a good proxy for security, right? Hey, because nobody can compromise dark fiber. Those circuits can go away because the internet is sort of your new backbone, because you're secure, right? You don't have to worry about breaches. And since all of this is available as a service, the operational overhead over time reduces about 75%. All of this is baked in the TEI report and in the Forrester TEI report. And I encourage you to download that, understand the economic benefits of actually moving to a stronger security posture, right? Just by moving from a traditional sort of network-centric approach to a more zero trust approach. Without any limitations. There are no taxes. I'm not asking you to compromise access to a legacy application. I'm not asking you to compromise access to, a particular branch office or, applications that are running in the cloud, for example. We will secure any user anywhere with access towards all your applications, regardless of where they are running. Right? With that promise, I would highly recommend reaching out for a virtual architecture session if you're interested and excited about this journey as much as we are. I would love to talk to you, about the next steps. We can stop the Q&A.
All right. Yes, let's get into some Q&A. I am going to quickly put up a poll here. So this one is a little bit different. So if you guys are relying on what was seen before, keep your eyes peeled for something new. So this question here is, are you currently using a zero trust network access or ZTNA service within your organization? So yes, primarily you are using ZTNA. Yes, you're phasing it in. No, primarily using VPN or some sort of a VDI, or you're not sure, or you're using something else. If you are using something else, we'd be curious to figure out or hear what that is, and you can plunk that in the chat if you are inclined to share. So we'd be curious to see what's up. And we're going to leave that up for a little bit, and then and we'll answer some questions. So, Navjoti, are you ready for some questions?
Yes, I am. If you can hear me, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. So, yeah, let's dive in. So, first question I've got on the docket is, I'm exploring replacing my VPN. Could you elaborate on the ZPA migration process?
Absolutely. So thank you for that question. It's one of the most common questions that we get for the most common land use case, which I also referred to in the slides earlier, which is VPN replacement, right? You start essentially with the construct that we use to obscure the apps, if you will, is called an app segment, right? So you start essentially with a wildcard app segment that ensures that, hey, the basic connectivity paradigms of your sort of the legacy VPN architecture are still maintained, as in the users have access. So first thing is availability. As you move along the segmentation journey, as users start to access these applications, right? And you can choose which applications sort of cloak behind this first, right? Step one, which applications users you're moving off, off your VPN. Once those access patterns start to get established, you can start to move using our AIML recommendation, using our intelligent app segmentation. You can start to move from the wildcard segment onto fine-grained application segments that we will make recommendations around based on usage patterns. You can start to define smaller groups, user groups, and access policies, tight access policies that eventually get you sort of to this to the zero trust model. You naturally have to have your IDP set up for the auth piece, right? That's sort of a prerequisite, right? Once you have sort of landed and executed this use case, for a set of apps, you can start to expand out into other use cases, right? Maybe bring other user groups in, maybe bring other applications in, and that's where things that I discussed around third-party access, for example, with a browser access, trying to access applications in your corporate data center, providing access to third-party contractors or workers. And then eventually, as you sort of have secured and established a zero trust posture for use cases inside the corporate domain, you want to extend this out to partners and business partners, right? And that's where things like the extranet application service that we recently announced, I talked about in the slides. You can extend the connectivity out into the business partner environments as well. One thing that I'd also like to highlight is resiliency in and of itself is a huge care about in our infrastructure, in the zero trust exchange infrastructure. But you should always be prepared for a bad day, and that's where things like the business continuity feature that the capability that we released, can come in very handy, which essentially brings about automated failure detection and response for regional, access losses, etc. Right? So you get a secure, resilient, sort of zero trust infrastructure for users, remote users, in-office users, that are accessing your private applications or are trying to access workloads in the cloud, while maintaining, a strong business continuity plan around this infrastructure as well, right? Let's go to the next question, please.
Sure. I'm going to switch to another poll. So I wanted to see, did you want to discuss at all these results? Do you find these interesting? We've got about 8% saying primarily ZTNA, 14 phasing it in, about 42 are still are on the VPN train, 22 about not sure, and about 14 are doing something else. Do you find this surprising, typical?
Not at all. It looks like the bell curve was sort of laid out
Yeah, it's good.
horizontally. But no, I mean, you know, VPNs, VDIs have been around for a long time, right? The biggest benefit is that it's a single semantic across all workload types, right? We do understand that the zero trust network architecture requires a different thinking, right? But it is almost a security imperative in the modern world, right? So while the 41% is not a surprise, right, using VPNs and VDIs, I am confident as we talk more about our capabilities around replacing these access methods, really, if you will. And I encourage people to look at the Forrester TI report, especially around these use cases. This is not an infrastructure Jenga of point products. It's a comprehensive, holistic zero trust security solution that addresses all your use cases, right? So look at the TI report. The economic benefits and the operational benefits sort of speak for themselves, right? I urge you to sort of embark on this journey.
All right, excellent. So I'm going to quickly throw up the other poll there. So that'll be, what additional information are you seeking about the Zscaler solution? So feel free to answer that. And next question I've got for you here, this from Carol. She's asking, what are Zscaler's latest advancements in zero trust network access for securing remote and hybrid workforce connectivity?
So I think I answered part of this in my earlier answer as well. We have extended the access for legacy applications that require a network presence, right? Things like VoIP, things like server to client applications, while extending the presence out to the execution venues of workloads, right? To the partner environments, right? With the extranet application service. We have made significant investments in improving the resiliency, with the business continuity offering. And then, intelligent app segmentation is hitting mainstream with a lot of customers who are using it actively to improve and tighten their security posture using our, AIML backend. Remember, there is like literally 500 trillion signals that are going through the Zscaler infrastructure every day, right? That is a significant amount of data that we can start to munge on while making security and risk assessments. And we use, those engines, those capabilities to bring you to a corporate-wide, security posture that is strong and compliant.
Excellent. Okay,
Yeah,
I think. Oh, sorry.
The next question also we answered in terms of going from a wildcard to sort of fine-tune segments with that question from Carol around seamless SASE adoption. Warren had a question: will Zscaler work in an education institution environment? Absolutely. In fact, I'm sure there are customer success stories that are up on the Zscaler website. I remember one, which is, I think, the New York State Department of Education. It's a customer success story. Urge you to look at that, see if there are things that resonated with a classic sort of VPN replacement question. Short answer to Carol's question around DLP. DLP for private applications, keeping the focus here on ZPA with the browser access and browser isolation methods. We can support isolation policies that support a wide range of actions, right? Things like not allowing copy printing, copy paste printing, downloads, right? All those possibilities, exist in the isolation policy. While you're riding on top of sort of browser access, right? And if these are all the same engines that you use for sort of standard internet access, SaaS access, that we are also bringing down into the private application access piece, right? There is a question from Nick around protect against supply chain threats. Nick, I don't want to get into too much detail around this, but really around the supply chain threats around SaaS. Really, our point of view there is, right, hey, how do we prevent supply chain threats in terms of SaaS applications, right? Hey, here's how do I prevent exfiltration, for example, from a Google Cloud or an Office 365, simply because these secondary software supply chain components they're calling out to, these applications that they might be calling out to, might be vulnerable, right? So there is there's Zscaler supply chain security. That's a product that you can use to actually protect against software supply chain threats. If your question meant how do we protect supply chain environments, things like manufacturing IoT OT environments, right? Our solution around that is PRA. So I thought I'll give you both colors there.
Awesome. I think we're gonna have to wrap with that. We've just run
Okay.
out of time, Navjoti. But we've got a couple of recommended next steps that you guys had here. Did you want to call out either of those, or shed some light, or leave a final thought before we wrap up here?
No, I think the key takeaway again from all of this was right. We've expanded the execution venues, right? Our vision is to secure any user, again anywhere, and applications regardless of where they live. We want to make sure that you have a zero trust posture when accessing these applications. Again, the theory is that peering relationships literally should be described between the endpoints that are communicating, right? Whether it's a user talking to an application workload or a branch connector or an IoT OT workload, right? That's where they should be described. That's where they should be protected, right? Networking sort of is the underlay that makes that happen. But please reach out for a virtual architecture session. I'm happy to talk to you about how you can get started on your ZPA journey. We have playbooks that have been tremendously successful in both moving customers off VPNs and VDIs. A very sort of curated set of steps that you can follow and get started on that journey and gain success, eliminate a lot of point products, and start seeing ROI on your investment, right? And be the cybersecurity superhero and champion inside your organization.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, and I'm glad you had so many great resources here. So we'll see you hopefully soon. But take care, and thanks for letting us pick your brain.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Alrighty, so again, we've got that Forrester TEI report there. You can scan the QR to reach out for a virtual architecture session. There's also a link in the handouts there for a demo. So definitely, you don't sleep on those, because we're going to give away these last prizes and wrap things up. And speaking of that, well, it's pretty exciting. We have our second and third $300 Amazon gift card to give away. Again, you do need to be live and present on the EcoCast to win, but let's do a little drum roll, please. And our second gift card is going out to Jason Farrer from Utah, and the third and final to Julie Viken from Minnesota. So, frog in the throat. Quick recap of those three. We've got Gina Lim Vu from California, Jason Farrer from Utah, and Julie Viken from Minnesota. Huge congrats, you three. As always, we'll be in touch about claiming your prize after the webinar, plus those best question gift cards going out for each of the sessions today. Now, if you had a fantastic time on the webinar and you are curious to chat about presenting on a future summit, EcoCast, or MegaCast webinar, well, we would absolutely love to hear from you. And you can reach out via email at connect@actualtechmedia.com to start the conversation there. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank all of our speakers from Palo Alto Networks, from Zscaler, as well as my fellow moderator and keynote speaker, Keith Ward, for making this EcoCast possible and for being here with us today. And I'm going to give a special thank you to all of you for attending, asking some great questions, and exploring deeper on this topic, supporting remote and hybrid workers, which is obviously so important, so of the moment. And I'm hoping you've all gotten some interesting ideas and tips. Maybe you're leaving feeling excited, ready to take some next steps, implement some new technologies. It'll be great. So I do want to remind you also, we have a really awesome webinar coming up next week. This is an EcoCast around supercharging public sector and education technology and security. So if you are working in the public sector or in ed tech at all, this is a webinar just for you. This is Thursday, February 6th at 12 Eastern or 9 a.m. Pacific. And I am hoping to see you all back on a webinar again soon. Quick reminder, we do have that new user interface rolling out. So if you join next week, expect some new templated emails, some new bells and whistles, some improved interactivity. Super excited to share that with you all. And well, until then, I'm wishing you an absolutely magical rest of your days. And until then, take care, everybody.